All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my left is Vice President and fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill. To my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, our Administrator Tracy Davies, Deputy Administrators Dawn Houston and Eric Hostetler, Clerks Sarah DeNova and Jennifer Walraven. We can begin.
Resolution number 23-431, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held May 18th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 23-431. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment today. That brings us to item number 3. Resolution number 23-432. In the matter of approving purchase orders and announced certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 0519, memo transfers in batch number MT APR 0519, and procurement card payments in batch number PC APR 0519.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 23-432. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 23-433, in the matter of approving travel expense request.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 23-433. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 23-434, in the matter of a transfer of a liquor license request from Eat Greek Incorporated to Sanchez Bureau LLC and forwarding to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control, with no objections and no request for a hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote?
Vote on motion 23-434. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 23-435, in the matter of proclaiming the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week in Delaware County.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff Fischel, Director of EMS, Delaware County. Every EMS week I get to come up here and brag about the good work that the men and women of our department do every year. Today I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. The theme for this year's EMS week is where emergency care begins, which I think is pretty fitting because one of the biggest key indicators for how we're doing as a department, I believe, is our customer satisfaction scores. A patient generally doesn't know if you are a good paramedic, you know, if you can start IVs well, or if you know what medication to give them or something like that. Typically what you leave behind with that patient is how you made them feel, and how, you know, the confidence that you gave to them during the care. And so for our crews, they were called out over 7,000 times last year. They made roughly 6,000 contacts with patients. They drove a couple 100,000 miles, a lot of those with patients in them. Gave a whole host of medications, did a bunch of skills and procedures on our patients, and through all of that, we're able to maintain customer satisfaction scores above 95%. So, you know, it's fitting that this year's theme is where emergency care begins, because to maintain a 95 satisfaction when somebody's calling you out in their greatest time of need, they're under extreme stress and need you the most, speaks volumes for our crews that respond to calls daily. So I brought some of them here in session. It's also only fitting that one of them was coming over and got a call. It's how it goes sometimes, but now they're back from the call. So I just wanted to recognize them and honor them, and hopefully get a picture with the commissioners.
Sure.
So does anybody want to speak? I think I know the answer to this, but I figured I'd ask.
Oh.
So, all right, thank you.
All right, comments?
Yeah, Yes, just thank you so much. You work 24/7, and the calls come in. You never know when, you never know what it's going to be, but you know it's going to be serious. And can't thank you enough for your great work. And the customer satisfaction survey is very important. Like you mentioned, Chief, it's just, I mean, people are scared literally to death when they're in that situation. And to be treated with kindness and humility and to be able to help, it means everything. Thank you.
You know, it's hard to add very much. We haven't said in this session, prior sessions. The work you do is representative of the quality that we find in this county, and you guys do an exceptional job. And I think the people in this county can go to bed at night knowing that if there's a problem, if there's an emergency, if something comes up unexpectedly, you'll be there. And I thank you for that, and I thank you for all you do for our county. Thank you.
Yeah, it is nice, very nice to get awards. You know, we got the state system of the year a couple years ago, and last year we got the national system of the year. So it's great to receive those awards. But you know, the real work is done at the patient level and each call, and that's where you guys just do outstanding work, as evidenced by the customer satisfaction survey, and we all see it every day. We know, we hear a lot of stories. So again, congratulations and thank you. You know, again, I know you guys get into some tough situations, and you always get there and be professionals and do what you're trained to do. So we really appreciate it. Let's do a vote, and then we'll hand out the proclamation just in case there's a no vote here. So I don't think there will
Vote
be.
on motion 23-435. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
All right. Want to get a picture, Jane?
Yep.
Stand on the ground. Scooch in.
Item number 7, resolution number 23-436, in the matter of approving a service agreement between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners and Innovative Hardware Incorporated, doing business as EPS, for the install of security cameras for the county's Bixby campus.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. Again, we're approaching completion out there at Bixby, so this
right.
contract is for all the security cameras throughout all the buildings and the site.
You guys going to ask the question again, or you think?
We're still looking at the beginning of August for the existing building, moving, and then probably end of August, September for the Sheriff's Administration building.
It's good. It's good. I assume you heard we got the OFA, or Homeport got the OFA credit for the Channing Street property.
Yes.
So that's going to be
yeah.
likely moving forward, kind of related to our topic, but
Yeah, we'll have some
okay.
clean house over there once we move them out.
yeah. Great. Vote, please.
Vote on motion 23-436. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Next, we have Director MAG, or Director of Environmental Services and Regional Sewer District, with their monthly update to the Board of Commissioners.
Thank you, Tiffany Mack, Director of Environmental Services. So this morning, we have 5 items for our monthly update for the month of May. First one is Slate Ridge. This is a Pulte development. It's 124 single-family units, and it's up on the north side of Home Road, that new development just north of that Kerbler piece and the Schottensteins Apartments to the south. That's both a plan approval as well as a subdividers agreement, which is a standard agreement. And we also have another Pulte development, which is Eagle Creek, 90 single-family lots. This is up off of 3Bs and a K, and it's actually in the city of Sunbury, so that's part of that agreement that we have where we serve everything west of Galena Road. And then we have Liberty Grand District, Section 11. This is MI continuing forward with now their 11th section of this same development. And then finally, Berlin Farm. This is another MI development, which is 42 single-family units up off of Berlin Station Road and Rollison Pyatt Road. And then the last one that we had, it looks like it just dropped off the map, was Lower Alum Creek. This is part of that large pump station project that we did. This is the force main piece, has been accepted, and it's on here for approval. So, take any questions, or otherwise, or seems like Pulte and MI seem like they're getting things moving again.
Yes.
But yeah, I think things have been a little bit slower this year as far as the total number of new connections that we've seen. But we're starting to see the plan reviews come back in again, so that's been good.
Boy, thank you.
Yeah.
All
Gosh,
right, thank
Activity
you.
continues
Yeah.
in those main areas.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Tiffany.
Item number 9, resolution number 23-437. In the matter of awarding a bid and approving a contract between the Delaware County Commissioners and the Shelley and Company for Dell CR 31-0.10 Red Bank resurfacing and shoulder widening project.
So, oh, go ahead. Second.
Discussion.
Morning, Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. This project involves resurfacing and shoulder paving on Red Bank Road. This will go from Smothers Road up to Gorsuch Road. A little bit on this contract came from the Shelley Company. It was over the engineer's estimate, but within the 10% threshold. And so we are recommending award to Shelley Company. Shelley's done a lot of work, and they do a good job at this type of work.
Still, any further,
I knew you would ask.
yeah, all right. I know you said kind of a general summer time, still,
Yeah, when we meet with Shelley, we'll have
Okay.
a more detailed schedule, but I think their completion is sometime in September, but it won't take but 3 or 4 weeks once they get moved in.
okay, thank you.
All right, vote please.
Vote on motion 23-437. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 23-438. In the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
8 pretty routine utility installation permits and recommending approval.
Okay, vote Jennifer.
Vote on motion 23-438. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 23-439, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds and a supplemental appropriation for the engineer's office for the County Road 605 shoulder paving and safety improvement project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This involves the accounting for the federal funding on the Route 605 shoulder paving and resurfacing project. This essentially covers our 10% local share for the project.
Vote please.
Vote on motion 23-439. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Next up, we have Eric Hosteller, our Deputy County Administrator and General Counsel, with a discussion on the process for dedication of private roads.
Good morning, Eric Hostetler. We have recently had several residents that live on private streets contact the office in regard to potentially dedicating those private streets to the public and asking for a written response as to the county's position on that. And I don't feel comfortable providing a written response of the county's position without having a discussion with the board about how we see that issue. Typically, our recommendation has always been do not accept the private streets as a public road unless they have been brought up to a public standard. One of the ideas that the private street residents have brought up is the potential of accepting them substandard and then levying an assessment to bring them up to public standard. And the recommendation I have on that, or the concern I have with that, is that there are a lot of private streets throughout the county, and if we do that for one subdivision, we might be asked to do it for more and more and more, And there is not a way around having that be a general obligation of the county. So if we were to levy an assessment, we would have to do the project, borrow the funds, and then get paid back over time with the assessment. And that, to me, looks to be a bit of a slippery slope.
So that could be a lot of money.
Potentially,
If there's
yes,
a
it could.
large subdivision that's a private, has all private roads, it could be significant dollars then.
So that's what I wanted to have a discussion on, just to get the board's feeling about how we will approach these requests. I think Rob stuck around in case he has anything to add, but I'm just looking for no formal action, just kind of your informal direction on how we can respond to these types of requests.
The way the system has worked, it seems to work well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it doesn't put the responsibility, the liability on all the taxpayers in the county. It's the ones that are affected and are benefiting from it. Seems an appropriate way of handling it, and we certainly want to bring up the standards before we even consider it. And I'm pretty sure the engineer's office feels the same way on that.
Yeah, and these streets are almost always going to be township roads after they become public, and then it becomes a maintenance obligation for the township after that. So
That's true.
I think it's beneficial to make sure that they're brought up to a public standard. A lot of times these decisions were made decades ago. People who own properties on these streets maybe didn't decide to make them private, but the recommendation has always been to make sure that they're brought up to a public standard before we accept them. So I don't know if Rob has anything else to add.
Yeah, I'd be interested in a history, of how often we've done this and the issues we've run into and so on. Either Eric or Rob, whoever wants to talk about that.
Sure. Again, Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. There is certainly some history with this issue. Over the years that I've been around at least, there have been private roads that have been made public. I would say in every case except for one that I'm aware of, the streets were either in currently very good condition and were able to be made public without any significant or maybe not even any modifications. They were built to public standard. For whatever reason, they were made private initially, but then the process was easy to transfer those or to dedicate those for public use. I'm aware of at least one current situation where let me back up a second. So in the situations where those streets have been dedicated to the public, the homeowners association in each of those cases held title to the right of way. And so the HOA was able to dedicate that right of way to the public. There is at least one situation I'm currently aware of where that is not the case. Each abutting property owner holds an interest in the right of way. There is no homeowners association, and so in that case, there would be no mechanism to dedicate that road except if every single property owner agreed to do that. Even one holdout or one person that wasn't willing to dedicate would basically torpedo the whole thing. The only way to move forward in that situation would actually be for your board to initiate acquisition of the right-of-way, which we would not advise because the property owners would be entitled to due compensation at that point. I just don't think that's a good policy from a neighborhood perspective and from a county perspective. So, but again, the roads that have been dedicated in the past have been, I think, to my knowledge, have been with the support of the townships that would ultimately be taking over maintenance of those streets. The recent example I can think of where the public did get involved in the rehab of the streets was the Riverview subdivision several years ago. The TID played a role in basically facilitating the improvements to those streets. But there was a business reason for that, both a business and a public benefit to doing that. The HOA agreed to dedicate the right-of-way, dedicate the streets as public. The TID stepped in with cash that TID had on hand, made the improvements, and then secured an ongoing revenue stream through the reimbursements over time. That was a good deal for both the neighborhood as well as the TID. So I would say that is probably the exception versus the rule. Based on our recommendations, in most cases, our preference will always be that the neighborhood get together, make the necessary upgrades, and then certainly with conversation with the township, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to be maintaining the streets after they're taken over. That can potentially move forward. But in terms of a universal policy, I would discourage just a one-size-fits-all type of look at these, because each one is a little bit different. So I'm not sure that makes the issue any clearer for your board or for Eric, but I think certainly in cases where the HOA doesn't hold title to the right-of-way or doesn't control the right-of-way, and each individual has an interest in the right-of-way, that's a very difficult and probably just not a workable solution to have the county step in and acquire the right-of-way. So that's a long answer to the issue, but hopefully that answers some of your questions.
Well, the river, I believe is the one you referenced, it also had an issue with sewer as well, as I recall.
Correct.
So these are all unique,
Correct.
and all those combination of events made that somewhat of a unique situation. Am I correct on that?
You are.
Could you just explain for the public what a TID is?
Yeah, the Transportation Improvement District is a independent body created by your board. Basically is intended to facilitate transportation improvements. The TID does have some mechanisms that are not available to you as a board. The TID can do some innovative contracting methods to make transportation improvements. The TID board, as you know, operates on grants that your board makes available to the TID, and then can use those funds to leverage other funds or basically make deals with other public agencies or private entities to leverage those funds. So again, it is a different body. It has some additional powers, but overall has the same mission, I think.
And it sounds as though when the TID with Riverby, that situation was corrected. That was a homeowners association that was strongly in favor of it. They had a functioning homeowners association. So
That is correct, and that is really the core issue is there has to be an HOA involved that has authority to dedicate the right-of-way. In that case, we had Delaware Township that was very supportive of making those streets public. I would add that many of the private streets we see in Delaware County are in gated neighborhoods, and that's certainly fine. I mean, I think we, as a policy, require that all streets, whether they're public or private, meet the same requirement, and that's for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, public safety. Philosophically, we don't see a difference between a public and a private street when it comes to making sure that the streets are safe for public travel as well as emergency access on those streets. The second benefit of that, of course, is that if at some time in the future the residents feel that they want to make the streets public, we don't have to necessarily get into completely rebuilding the streets. The bones are there. You may need to do some rehabilitation and fix it up, but essentially the street already meets all the requirements. So again, to date, it has been streets that have already met the public requirement that have been made public. We have not gotten into a situation where we've had to make really, really substantial upgrades to a street.
What do you typically run into when a subdivision wants to take its streets public? What sort of remediation? I know it hasn't been big, but
Generally, it's going to be the pavement. I would say in most cases, the pavement does not receive the maintenance it would if it were a public street. The routine maintenance, crack sealing, the various different types of preventive maintenance that a township might do. Often by the time we talk to the folks that want to make it public, it's because it's going to need a pretty significant repaving job. And so, not surprisingly, that's what the folks are asking for help on. And in some cases, that can be accommodated with an agreement, you know, where the HOA can actually contract directly with a paver and get that work done. In the case of Riverby, the TID did step in and contract on behalf of the HOA, but again, there was that was really a business deal to secure ongoing revenue. But if you haven't heard anything else I've said, it's very important that the HOA actually holds title to the right-of-way. If that's not the case, and each property owner holds title or holds an interest in some fashion, it's almost impossible.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You commented that patching and all that, but sometimes the underlying base may need to be improved considerably before you could really do any constructive work. Am I accurate on that?
That is true, Commissioner. I don't know that we've gotten into a situation where we've had to look at that, because generally speaking, the roads that we have made public were already in fair enough condition. It was really just the top. It was just restoring the surface. But that's certainly a possibility. If you're into more extensive pavement repairs, clearly that comes at a cost. But yes.
Yeah, you referenced the one subdivision that doesn't have a homeowners association and therefore no right-of-way ownership by the HOA. Is that possible to do by can they create an HOA and then acquire the right-of-way, you know, for the roads? Eric's smiling. I'm assuming that's a big legal challenge.
Yeah, and that's not something I'm sure we need to get involved in. Certainly if the residents are able to do that legally, that's great. It's in my opinion, always beneficial to have an association that has authority over the common spaces or common areas of the neighborhood. When it's left up to individual property owners to bear the burden of that, it's, you know, what happens, unfortunately. So, but yeah.
Thank you.
Eric?
Wow.
Eric, had comments?
Yeah.
Yeah, first off, real quick on the HOA issue. If an HOA was never formed, or let's say it was formed and then it was formally deactivated, that can be a really difficult situation to create a new one or reactivate it. What Rob is saying is that if there's common ownership amongst all of the parcel owners in a roadway, and you would need 100% to dedicate it, establishing an HOA, you're probably gonna need 100% too.
I was gonna say that.
So if somebody's not in favor of the one, why are they gonna, set up the HOA to take care of it that way? So it's a big hurdle for a subdivision facing that situation to get to where they can even levy an assessment on the property owners to upgrade the streets. Because that's the other thing, that it's an option if you have an HOA that owns private streets, or a subdivision that has private streets. If the HOA can levy an assessment, then that can help pay for upgrades. But if you've got no HOA, or it doesn't function, or the documents aren't in proper order, that's a real problem. I also wanted to go back to the Riverby situation. In that case, the TID entered into a lease, actually leased those streets from the HOA, levied the assessment, upgraded the streets, and then they were dedicated. So in that case, there was an assessment involved, but they were not accepted until those improvements were made. I don't know that that's really a model that we can extend over other subdivisions. That one was pretty unique in that they were facing an EPA order for their sewer system. Work was going to be done to improve the sewer system to connect it to central sewer. It made sense that at the same time, might as well take care of the streets that were in pretty bad shape. And again, Rob referenced, Delaware Township was very much in favor. They adopted a resolution in favor of that project, and I believe they even appeared at your hearing in support of it. So it was a pretty unique situation. The one currently that I've been contacted about is the one Rob referenced about common ownership of the road right-of-way. There's not an HOA involved. My understanding is they don't have 100% of the property owners that are in favor of making the streets public. It's just a really difficult situation.
So, to summarize, HOA and township support are two critical ingredients.
Yeah, I think because you need to get the roads to the point that they can be accepted. It is an easy situation if, as Rob mentioned, your private streets are built to public standard and they've been taken care of, and it's really not an issue. There's no upfront improvements or maybe minimal improvements. The township might be in favor of it. So yeah, those are the easy cases. The older subdivisions before standards for private streets were a part of the process, those are where we see the problem. And I'm not even sure how many of those subdivisions are out there in the county that might be in that situation.
When were those subdivision regulations put in place? Wasn't it like 95 or something like that? Rob, you remember?
The standard we currently have where private streets are built to the same standard was probably the late 90s, around 2000, some time. So it's unfortunately doesn't go back far enough to address some of the subdivisions that are now coming forward, but hopefully it minimizes the issues moving ahead.
I really appreciate the clarity.
Yeah, it is very helpful.
Yeah, very helpful, Eric.
And again, I would not support the county becoming an obligor on assessments or whatever, using as a general fund obligation. I don't think that's appropriate. Your other recommendations, they need to be brought up before, assumption. That all makes sense to me.
Yeah. Bottom line is, you need an HOA from what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, either an HOA or a neighborhood that is unified in what direction they want to go. I wouldn't say you need to have an HOA, but it makes it a lot easier to have
Sure.
that singular control.
Okay.
Because getting 100% of any neighborhood to agree on something is very difficult.
That's right.
Even establishing an HOA.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Do you
thank you.
Need anything else from us, Eric? Or?
No, I think that gives me sufficient guidance.
Okay.
I appreciate the discussion. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Rob, thank you as well. I think that's it for activity.
Yes.
Now we're on to the
Yeah.
administrator reports.
Yes, administrator reports.
Nothing today. I don't have anything either.
Eric, anything else? Okay. Commissioner Lewis?
I don't have anything else at this moment.
Okay.
I really don't have anything. We had our legislative meeting Friday, and the Senate and the House are very busy right now, and we did, Senator Brenner showed up at the meeting, as did Beth Lear, and
Was our new representative there?
he was not there, but it's pretty
I know he's
understandable.
interested in coming.
He is interested in coming and promised he'll attend future meetings, but he's only been in that position about a week, so he was not even that long.
Yeah.
And so he was transitioning with a lot going on and a lot to learn and a lot to understand. So other than that, I have nothing else today.
Okay, just a couple things. The Central Iowa Youth Center meeting we had Thursday afternoon, it was supposed to be an annual meeting and a regular meeting. The annual meeting was postponed because we didn't have a quorum
I won.
by one. Yeah. And we now have 5 counties instead of 4 with the addition of Logan County. So we only had 7 members. So we had enough for a regular meeting, but not for the board meeting or the annual meeting. But again, things are in good shape there. And we'll have the annual meeting in August. Attended a couple events last week for outgoing, retiring President Rock Jones of Ohio Wesleyan. Very nice events. Was in Upham Hall, which is newly renovated on campus. And I would really encourage everyone to get into that building. It's beautiful, turned out just beautiful. That was Thursday evening. And I think Rock's done as far as activities at Ohio Wesleyan. He's going to go back to Arizona, or go back to Arkansas this Thursday, I think he leaves, so.
Oh, my gosh,
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
I did think of one thing when you're done.
Sure, go ahead, that's all I had.
I have been working with Senator Brenner on some amendments which he has submitted on indigent defense and,
Yeah, there's a chance we might get full funding on that.
CCAO has been working
Right.
very hard on
Yep,
that, I
yep.
know.
Yeah, Gary's
Commissioner
been-
Merrill
yeah,
is
working
aware of
hard.
this, and also local government funding.
Yeah, and
too.
there's a chance that
So-
could be improved significantly.
But thank you to the senator on that.
Yep, yep. Okay, we do need to do executive session, but do we want any PGA review? Sarah, do you want to do a PGA review before we get into executive session? No? Tiffany probably watched the PGA, didn't you? You didn't? Oh my, what's happening to our golfers here? All right, let's do executive session.
Resolution number 23-440, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of appointment, employment, compensation of a public employee or a public official, and for collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Take your,
vote.
Vote on motion 23-440. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
aye.
All right, we're now in executive session.